Coming into the season, I was really excited about Payamps and Peguero out of that pen. Pen has been great. Those guys, not so much. And it leads to a Brewer loss in Colorado. Same old. Brewers just can't get the job done against the Rockies in the Mile High City. We'll get to that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey everybody, welcome to Locked On Brewers. I'm your host, Chuck Freeman. Good to have you along, long-time sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin, and great to be the host of Locked On Brewers. And, well, I'll tell you, since I've taken over here, we've had a lot of good things to talk about with the Milwaukee Brewers. A lot of success. I know not the postseason success that we had a hope for. In fact, the last time the Brewers have won a postseason series was out there at Coors Field, where the Brewers were on Monday night against the Rockies, taking a divisional series, sweeping the Rockies in 3 games. But the Brewers did fall in extra innings on Monday night, 8-7 to Colorado. Just had one of those games where it just seemed like they were destined to lose. But I want to start off talking about this bullpen here. 2 guys really led to this loss out of the bullpen. 2 guys did not do their job. Peguero, let's talk about him. He gave up a game-tying home run in the 8th inning. He got the first 2 guys out, and then he gave up a home run to Brenton Doyle. Doyle's second of the game. And, yeah, I mean, right-handers are just feasting on Peguero this year. And I liked him last year. I really did. I thought Peguero, Elvis is going to take a step up. Like this kid. I don't like him in real high leverage spots, but I like him. Payamps, on the other hand, I loved him in high leverage spots. In fact, I was okay if that guy was the closer when Devin Williams went down. I mean, last year, that slider, he was not leaving it up over the plate, and he's doing so this year. He's leaving sliders. Not only gave up 1 hit in the 10th inning, but man, they got to take Payamps out of high leverage spots. But I get extra innings. Bottom of the 10th inning, what are you going to do at this point? All right, what are you going to go? They weren't going to use Brian Hudson. Apparently, they seem like they've been using him a lot, and maybe they feel like they've been using Huddy a little bit too much. But Payamps is now 1-5. He gave that home run on Saturday to Happ, to Ian Happ, in the loss, and then he took the loss here, giving up the base hit. Now, again, bottom of the 10th inning, I'm not going to throw too many darts on Payamps giving up, losing that game, okay? Because you start with one hand, arm tied behind your back with that runner on second base. But the bottom line is he gave up the base hit to finish that game, to Cave, and that was it right there. Bases were loaded. They walked a couple of guys intentionally, man at third, and they walked 2 guys, and then Payamps gives up the base hit. But he is struggling. Let's get him out of high leverage spots. All right. Let's not, and I get extra innings. You got to use guys you don't want to use in high leverage spots. I get that. But it seems like he's getting too many, and I'm not feeling real comfortable about it. And I don't think Brewer fans are really as well, using Payamps in high leverage spots. Peguero should never be used in a high leverage spot. All right. Especially with Devin Williams coming back. I've seen some of you guys wanting that Payamps should be getting, should be cut, should be DFA'd. That's not going to happen. I'm not there yet with Payamps, but let's move him down in the order a little bit as far as bullpen guys. I feel like every year this is like this with the Milwaukee Brewers. There are certain guys that they come into the game and you're like, oh, why are they in the game? Oh no. And you got to peek over the kitchen table, or you got to peek over the coffee table when you're sitting on the couch or watching it and just say, oh boy, Payamps is in the game. What's happening? And I did not feel this way. A year ago, I did not feel the way about this guy. But, he's I'm not feeling real comfortable with him and Peguero into the bullpen. I had more confidence in Payamps than Peguero. I feel no confidence in either one of those guys. But the Brewers did lose. No big deal. 8-7. Lost to the worst team in the National League. And somebody's going to say, like my 12-year-old kid the other day said, how can the Brewers lose to this team or this? That's going to happen in baseball. The Brewers were like a 140 favorite going in. If anything, that should tell you something on the betting line that, if they're like a minus 600 favorite, that's a little different, but you never see that in Major League Baseball. You see that in the NFL, college football as well, but you don't see that in Major League Baseball. Maybe every once in a while you see a minus 400. Brewers were a slight favorite, and they got beat, and they'll try to do better on Tuesday. Not going to get worried, upset or all. It was just one loss. But my frustrations are Payamps in high leverage spots, Peguero, high leverage spots. And it's just not on Monday night with Payamps. I feel like they've been using him too often in high leverage spots. Would like to see Hudson pitch, win this one in Colorado, but they were not going to go to him. Yelich, it just continues to rake. We're going to talk about that. Mitchell returns. Nice little return for Garrett Mitchell. Good to see him back with the Brewers. Finally ending what I termed as the longest rehab assignment in Major League Baseball history. That guy was just there forever, I feel, in Nashville, but they finally felt comfortable bringing him back. And we'll get to that coming up next. This show is brought to you in part by FanDuel. FanDuel, make every moment more. As the playoffs wind down, the sports stops sporting like we wanted to do, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long, but you got to visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to get on all the details to get started. That's with FanDuel. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. And FanDuel is the number one sports book in the country for a reason. Head on over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most of your summer. The official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. I love sports, but you know what? I like going on games as well. I've gone on a lot of Brewer games, to be honest with you. And, they've won me some coin. So that's good. Lost some games on a few other teams that I had confidence in, like the Cincinnati Reds. But the bottom line is this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. Something for everyone all summer long. But you got to visit FanDuel, FanDuel.com/lockedon. Start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. The show is also brought to you in part by your folks over at the Tax Network USA. I give you all the sports news every day. Every day, I give you all the Brewers news. I give all the sports news on the radio stations I work for, but I give you all the Brewer news every day here on Locked On Brewers. But hey, you know what? Collection season, that's never ending. And just because tax season is over doesn't mean the IRS is going to stop coming after you for unfiled taxes. The IRS can garnish your wages, levy your bank accounts, and even seize your property. Nobody wants to have that done. Let the licensed professionals and tax experts at Tax Network USA go to bat for you. Over 14 years of experience, an A+ rating by the Better Business Bureau, Tax Network USA has saved their clients over $1 billion in tax debt. Whether you owe taxes, you got the complicated matters that require tax spending, or tax planning, or maybe you want a huge bet. You want a big parlay, and you got a form that you need to file. Well, they'll help you file that thing correctly. Call 1-800-549-1000, 549-1000. That's also their internet site, tnausa.com. You see it on my YouTube page, tnausa.com/lockedon. And of course, you'll receive a $250 discount off their services when you mention Locked On at checkout. $250 discount off their services at Tax Network USA. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Yeah, Garrett Mitchell, good to see him. I was surprised he was not in the starting lineup because the Brewers, their MO is when a guy comes off the disabled list, they trade for him, they bring him up for the minors, whatever. They like to put him right in the lineup and ready to go. But he got into this game. He got it midway through the game. He walked. He had an RBI base hit. He struck out, though, in the top half of the 10th inning. Not going to hold that against him, but it was great to see Garrett Mitchell. How's this going to work with Mitchell? Who knows at this point? These things always seem to work themselves out, but I bet you against a right-hander, he will be out there a lot of times against the right-hander. Blake Perkins, I like the kid, but I don't like him as much as Garrett Mitchell. Perkins did have an RBI base hit on Monday night, but still, Garrett Mitchell, good to see him back. The guy has missed a lot of time with the torn labrum, the shoulder, and, of course, the hand fracture that he suffered in spring training. He has missed a lot of games with the Brewers, a lot of games. Has to prove that he can stay healthy, and hopefully that's the case. But Mitchell finally has returned. He was supposed to return the Anaheim series several weeks ago, but they finally brought him back. Christian Yelich poked a leadoff triple, homered the other day on Sunday to give the Brewers a lead against the Cubs. He's batting .323. Batting average is up there. And somebody noted to me, well, Chuck, he's hitting a lot of singles. He's getting on base. He pulled one for a center field fence on Monday. He went oppo. A lot of times you see Yelich going opposite field. And he did the other night. He did on Monday night, going opposite field and a triple. But he's running the bases. That back is not giving him any issues. Cross our fingers. He's diving in the bases head first. That shows you he's not messing around with that back. That back is not giving him any issue. He belly flopped in third base with a triple tonight on Monday night, and I thought that was just great. But Christian Yelich, definitely an all-star. He's got 8 home runs. Of course, the power numbers aren't what they used to be. Absolutely not. The power numbers are there, but that's okay. I think Yelich is going to hit me 20, 25 home runs yet this year. Well, he's going to hit 20, I think. But as long as he hits around 323, plays us good defense in the outfield, I'm good with this Christian Yelich, the way we're seeing him. I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, is he back at the Christian Yelich form? I had the Christian Yelich apology letter I was writing and all that. He's about 95% there, except for the power numbers. Except for the power numbers with Yelich. That's the only thing I'll say, except for the power numbers. But again, he's been on a nice little roll, and that back has not been barking. I'm not jinxing him. I don't believe in those things, but the back seems to be treating him okay these days. Yelich is back to being Yelich. How about Murphy getting ejected on Monday night? Man, he sure has got his guys back. You know that Murphy, I feel, gets ejected over little things, but he was arguing because Ortiz, the first base umpire, said Ortiz on a chopper ran out of the baseline 3 feet out. Now that's debatable, but he said that was the case. The first base umpire, Ortiz, was very adamant. He almost got tossed, but Murphy did. Murphy got tossed. I feel like every time Murphy comes out of the dugout, about a 75% time, if it's to argue something, Murphy is getting the heave-ho. And Murphy got the heave-ho on Monday night. Ricky Weeks managed the rest of the game as well. Just gave him the scorecard, said, Ricky, you take over. Just like the guy did just like Gene Hackman did the shooter in Hoosiers. You take over, Ricky. Because we all know eventually Ricky Weeks is going to be the manager of this team. We do. Ricky is going to be the eventual manager of the team because, let's face it, managers, no matter who you are, they don't stick around for a heck of a long time. But we all want Murphy for the foreseeable future. Just don't have so much confidence in Payamps, please. Not a very good start for Bryce Wilson. 4 innings, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 2 home runs. He came in after the opener. Zastrisny came in, pitched a perfect first inning. Then he gave way to Bryce Wilson, and they scored 5 runs on him. Rockies did have a 3-0 lead. Brewers came back, took a 4-3 lead. Wilson gave that up. 5 earned runs, 2 home runs, but it was not a good outing for Bryce Wilson. That's okay. He's been pitching well. Good to see Willy Adames snap out of his 0-for-27 slump. He had a couple of base hits, and hopefully he can get rolling once again. Eric Haas. I said in the offseason, I like him. I like that pickup. Not as a starter, not as an everyday. He had 2 hits. He had a go-ahead base hit in this game as well. But he started behind the plate with Contreras over at the DH spot, and Haas, I thought, did a nice job. did a nice job back there. Made some nice stops, 2 hits. But, I didn't think there was any need to go get Sanchez. Haas is up here because Sanchez is on the injured list. No disrespect to Sanchez. I like the kid. I like the guy. But I thought they could have spent that $7 million elsewhere because I wanted Eric Haas as the backup catcher. And who knows if Sanchez, if he has to spend any amount of longer time on the injured list, Haas could be here for a while. But I like him. I have faith when that guy comes up to the plate. I like his swing. I like his compact swing. And Eric Haas is a nice backup catcher for the Brewers. And the Brewers could have saved a couple of million, $7 now. Well, it's going to be $7 million, but with Sanchez, remember the medical report didn't exactly work in his favor. So he had to take like $3 or $4 million off that $7 million. So, but still the Brewers could have saved some money. And instead they put Eric Haas down to AAA. Brewers will be facing Ryan Felder. We'll tell you who's pitching for the Brewers coming up next here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. We'll get to all that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers as we head down the home stretch. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the way to go, man. They have nice bonuses. They're America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is easiest way to go and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, PrizePicks, you just get the numbers. All you do is pick more or less 2 to 6 players, stat projections, and watch the winnings roll right in. Get in on all the daily action with your friends. Become part of PrizePicks community today. You could turn $10 into 1,000. You could win up to 100 times your money. You can't win unless you download the PrizePicks app today. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB for that first deposit match up to $100. That's the code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks. Deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. All right, down the stretch we come. Brewers will. I'm just looking at this point to split this series, this 4-game series in Colorado. Drop the first game. Let's come back and at least get a split. All right. Split the 4-game series in Colorado. Coors Field, tough place for the Brewers to always win. Drop the opener. And the Rockies they're going to be a tough out. I know what you're saying. Worst team in the National League, but still a tough out for the Milwaukee Brewers. And let's at least get a split going into Los Angeles this weekend. Dallas Keuchel on the hill. Dallas making his second start, struggled in his last outing. Let's hope he pitches well. And if he doesn't pitch well here, I don't know if he's going to get a third start or not. Because last Wednesday was just terrible for him. So he's got to pitch well. And if he doesn't pitch well, we'll see what other role they use him in. But they needed a 5th starter on July 2nd. And here Dallas Keuchel will make the start on July 2nd. All right. Feltner on the mound for the Rockies. Hey, that's going to do it for the show today. Appreciate everybody for following along on Google, Spotify, Apple. We're on all the major downloads, wherever you download your podcast. Hit me up on the YouTube page. Search Locked On Brewers. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers. And also, please follow me on Twitter. Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND. I read your messages. I read your DMs. I read your retweets or whatever you say. Please, but continue to follow me along on Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND. Hey, don't worry about this game on Monday night. Nothing to get excited about. Again, lost to the worst team in the National League. No shame there. 8-7. Thought they were going to win this game when they did take the brief lead. They had a 7-6 lead in this game after scoring those 3 runs in the 8th inning. But then Peguero gives it back by giving up the home run. And then in the bottom of the 10th inning, you get the extra innings. Man, there's some craziness in the extra innings. So the Mets game today, there was like 6 runs scored by I believe the Mets in the 10th inning. It's just wild. some of these games. Like the other day, the Mets were playing Houston. Houston had put up like a 7 spot, I believe, in extra innings. I mean, these new rules with the guy on second base leads to absolute chaos. Now, chaos did not break out in the game at Coors Field. Just a lot of scoring, a lot of bizarre scoring. And I'm sure we're going to see more of it in the next 3 days. Like I put out this tweet when the Brewers tied it up at 3-3, said, man, this is going to be a wacky game. And it certainly was. Unfortunately, the Brewers came out on the short end in 10 innings, 8-7. We'll see you again tomorrow night, right after the game, late night, 7:40. You get it on Sirius XM, the SXM app. Search Brewers, and you'll get all 162 of Brewers baseball. Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. So long, everybody.